Hey everyone, and welcome to Cozying Up with a Clear Cut, where we get up close and personal with women that inspire us. Today we are with Gabby Slome. She is the co-founder and chief experience officer at Ollie, the natural dog food brand. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we always want to start by learning about your journey. So how did you get here? How did you get interested in natural dog food? Like, what was your path to founding your own company?
Sure. So I used to be an equestrian. So grew up with animals, horses and dogs alike, and then decided that I wanted to be in the quote unquote real world. So after college, I sort of landed in a startup out of Boston. Was an e-commerce company.
So were you professionally riding like through college?
Yeah, so in riding, it's sort of different than other sports. Like professional means you get paid to ride. So I was riding at a professional level and competing against professionals. But yeah, I rode all through college. I took a year off before college and rode. I would do classes Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, and then fly out Wednesday evenings for whatever horse show we were going to throughout the year, and then show all summer. So the year
Was it hard to balance that and college? Like, did you go to college nearby to do that?
Yeah, so I actually ended up going to Columbia because I sort of felt like I grew up in New York but didn't actually ever live in New York. So just sort of keeping things a little bit easier by staying at home turf, and my trainer was close by, and an easy place to fly in and out of. But yeah, like college for me was kind of like a task or a job as opposed to like a full immersion experience like it is for a lot of people. I definitely did that in business school where I did the whole like party travel.
And you went back to Columbia for business school.
I did. I was a two-timer, yeah. But yeah, so college was like very much like just something I had to get out of the way in order to ride. So yeah, it was definitely. So anyways, so I was riding, and then entered moved to Boston with my husband, fiance at the time, I guess, and sort of fell into a startup there called Karmaloop. It was like the first sort of when streetwear was becoming cool.
I feel like I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's not really around that much, but it was like the first like online destination, like, and they did content marketing before like content marketing was a thing. Like the buyers would do like weekly videos, and it was like this whole community that people were really, really into. So that's sort of like how I got into my first startup, and then worked there for a while. And then my husband got relocated back to New York with his job. I came to New York, and like we tried to do it where I could still work for them, but remote was very hard to start up. So then I joined Von Privé with their joint venture with Amex when they were launching their off-price site. This is now like 3 years later, and
what was that?
Von Privé was the original flash sale sites. But, long story short, I sort of saw the writing on the wall, realized that it wasn't going to make it in the U.S. And then at that point was like, hey, like I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, but I've liked being at startups, but want to do sort of my own thing where I have like my own vision and can control my destiny. But I feel like there was a lot of like learning off the seat of my pants, being grown up in startups, that I felt like I missed some of the like formal business training. And so that's when I decided to go to business school.
Got it.
Yep. So I went to business school. Went to Columbia, as you said, and back to New York and Columbia. And before business school, I took my own like sabbatical travel, and went around India and then South America. And in South America and Colombia, I was hiking and met my now dog Pancho.
That's such a perfect name.
Well, so how it happened was we were hiking, and this little dog, like he has these gorgeous yellow eyes, and like he looks like he's like the most perfect permanent eyeliner on, like just like looks into your soul at all times. Started following me, and
he was just a stray dog.
Just a stray dog. Like a little skinny, but like clearly looked like, he was savvy. He knew how to tag on to people who would give him his next meal. Yeah. And my husband like looks at me and he's like, don't even think about it. Like he knew like I was just like melting every second. And this was supposed to be like kind of like not a leisurely hike, but like a, normal touristy hike. Like 9 hours later, we're with like this like G.I. Joe tour guide, like up at the top of this mountain through like over this like river, and this dog is following us the entire time, like will not leave my side. Anyways, so bring him back. and he brought him back to the U.S. We actually traveled for another like couple weeks in Colombia, and he stayed
with him.
Stayed with us the whole time, and then brought him back to the U.S. And when I brought him back, and like when we were traveling through Colombia, like honestly, like we didn't really buy him dog food. We just got like chicken breast or whatever, and you know, he seemed very happy because there wasn't readily dog food available where we were. And I put him on what I thought was a high-end kibble, and I saw his health decline immediately. He started having like allergy reactions, like hot spots and like really itchy skin. His digestive system was a little funky. He like gained a bunch of weight. My husband jokes, it's like, well, that's what happens when you come to America. But I took him to the vet and was like, there's just like something wrong. And I was like, oh, my husband's probably right. Like, I brought back this diseased dog. Like, what's going on? And so we did all these tests, and like there was nothing actually wrong with him.
He wasn't like allergic to anything.
No, he wasn't allergic to anything, but you know, the vets told me, oh, try this, try that. So I went on this like wild goose chase.
Well, he was probably used to eating, you know, more like human food since he was traveling like with humans, like scavenging.
Exactly. So I like tried all these different recipes, all these different brands, all these different proteins. Nothing helped. My friend convinced me to go to this holistic vet who then had me read a book like Food Pets Die For. And I learned all about the pet food industry and was like totally appalled by what I found. And
what did you find?
So don't want to ruin anyone's appetite, but generally like the pet food industry is owned by, it's very typical CPG. So owned by like 4 or 5 main conglomerates. They own all, like you go into a pet food store, you think you have this sort of like dichotomy of so much choice, and yet at the same time, they're all the same with different packaging.
Yeah.
Right? And so like the ingredients that are going into it, it's feed, not food, i.e. it's not safe for human consumption.
Yeah.
So like the 4 Ds is like what they'll talk about, which is dead, dying, deceased, or disabled animals that don't make it into our food supply chain. So think about like a sick animal that dies and therefore like cannot be.
But that can't be good for dogs either.
Exactly. So it's not good for dogs. Rancid meat ends up in there, like you name it, it ends up in dog food. It goes through this rendering plant where they sort of like put in whole carcasses, like roadkill will end up in there, like it's gross. And then because of ingredients.
Roadkill?
Yeah.
Oh.
And because it's such low quality ingredients, they then have to like process it to a level that kills all the bacteria. So then you're sort of left.
It's like McDonald's chicken nuggets or something.
I mean, it's worse, but yeah, you're left with like really low quality, not that nutrient dense food.
Mm-hmm.
So then they artificially flavor it so the dogs will eat it, add a bunch of synthetic vitamins so that it's like nutritionally sound, but then that can lead to toxicity levels, like they put in too much vitamin D, your dog gets liver failure. And then add a bunch of preservatives so it can sit on a store shelf, because the whole way that they produce is like massive batches that goes and they sit on store shelves for 6 months at a time, and then in your home for another 4 or 5 months. You don't have to keep going back to the store.
Yeah.
So it's sort of an old age industry, which like, you know, not to use the cliche term disrupt, but like no one had re-looked at for like a long time. And so that was like, look, when I see these types of issues, I generally tell people to like try a home cooked diet. And the like running joke in my family is if Seamless went out of business, I would starve to death. So like cooking is not my thing. And
I remember like when I was younger, I'd go to like my aunt and uncle's house, and they had a dog, and they would just like make Chinese food for everyone and just make an extra bowl of like rice with whatever we were eating like for the dog every night, and he never ate like dog food.
So then I started looking, and like I found a few like sort of small brands at like a local pet store that were refrigerated or freeze dried, and like they were really expensive, and going back to the store all the time. Like I also get everything in my life through the mail.
Yeah.
So that was like not gonna happen either. And so the light bulb moment went off, and I was actually an entrepreneur after business school. I was an entrepreneur in residence at a venture fund, and we had been looking at a bunch of like Amazon subscribe and save categories, because it's like, okay, there's margin, we like the replenishment aspect of it. And so dog food was one of the categories. Like we also looked at like hair care and personal hygiene, other things like that, of like what's in the subscribe and save that we could change. And then when I went through this experience with my dog, I was like, okay, game over. Like there has to be a better way to feed our dogs. And just like you and I feel better when we eat healthy, like they do too. And like the thing that's crazy is like vet bills and obesity is on the rise. It's 54% of the dogs in the U.S. are obese. Yeah, diabetes and cancer is on the rise. And people, like, dogs have an unprecedented place in people's homes now, right?
Yeah.
Like, they used to be for the kids, now they are the kids.
Yes.
And yet the best gift we can give them is a gift of health, and no better way to give them health than by what we're feeding them. So sort of was like, this is game over for me. Nothing else mattered. Blinders on, like, wanted to create a dog food company. So that was definitely hard to get a human food company to agree to make dog food. But I'm like, look, this is our ingredient list. This is our sourcing. Like, it's 100% safe. But there's still like that stigma of like, wait, you're making dog food here.
Yeah.
And like, what are my other clients going to think?
So can humans eat Ollie food?
It is 100% safe for humans to eat. It is not seasoned for humans to
Okay.
eat. So you definitely would want to, you might not like the taste of it, but it is safe for humans to eat.
Awesome.
And so you should feel like, and it looks like real food. Like, it looks
Yeah.
like a taco mix is sort of how I like to explain it. Where you can like see the peas, you can see the carrots, you can see the ground meat. And like, when you look at kibble and it's like these like brown balls, it's sort of like looking at cereal and you're like, what's in there, right? Like, and everything that I eat is like recognizable and like, you know, natural. Why shouldn't my dog be eating the same? So that was the journey.
Cool. So we always ask our guests, what is your spark? Like, what is that motivation inside of you that sparks like your hustle to keep going and creating and, you know, inventing things?
Yeah. So I think my spark in general, like, I'm definitely goal driven. I think like my equestrian background, like the act of competition, the next thing. So I'm definitely like on that constant treadmill of like, what's the next mountain to climb? So that definitely keeps me going. But also like doing good and like doing something I feel really good about. So I think like at Ollie, what's kept me going is like we get love letters from our pet parents.
So we always gift our guests a spark ring.
Thank you.
Which is just a daily reminder of, you know, that hustle and motivation to keep going. If it's not your size, we can send you one in the proper size.
I appreciate it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And we love like pieces of jewelry that have like a little extra meaning to it. And I think a lot of people have those sentimental pieces that may not even be like the most extravagant thing, but is near and dear to their heart. Did you bring something special?
I did. So I wear it every day. I don't take it off, so it's easy to show. So this charm bracelet.
It's so pretty.
Thank you. So my mom gave it to me when I was like, I think around like, it wasn't on my 18th birthday, but it was sort of like around being 18. And it used to be hers. And I don't know, I feel like she felt like it was like a coming of age bracelet. I'm not exactly sure why. But
and it has like star charms and pearls.
Yeah, stars and charms and hearts. Yeah. And I think there was like one or two moons that have since fallen off, unfortunately. I think I have them. I just need to get them put back on. But I just love it that like I love like sort of multi-generational things. So I love that it's something that like she handed down to me. And now my daughter loves like when we're relaxing or like when she's getting ready for bed, she like twirls it around my wrist or like we'll play with it and like look at like sort of feel it between her fingers. And I know that one day I'll give it to her as well. So just feels good wearing it and feels good having that special piece.
I know we asked ahead of time like what type of jewelry would you want to see, because we like to like bring some out and like play with it, and you mentioned you liked Asher cuts and maybe cushion cuts.
Yes.
Just like a fun 7-carat Asher with tapered baguettes, because I know you mentioned maybe like wanting to explore tapered baguettes.
It's beautiful. And it's my perfect size.
Oh my God, it's perfect. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And for the gifts. I love it.
Oh, well. Awesome. So tell everyone, where can they find Ollie, follow you, see any updates? Like, where can everyone find you?
Sure. So best way, myollie.com, and we're myollie on Instagram.
And it's OLLIE, right?
OLLIE. Yeah. It's the best way to see everything new and happening.
Awesome. And for all of you that want to see the beautiful jewelry we were looking at, follow us on YouTube at The Clear Cut, and of course on Instagram at The Clear Cut. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.